Hello, everyone, and welcome to Demo Day for our 23rd cohort of immersive full-time students at Code Chrysalis. My name is Shivani, and I'm an instructor here at Code Chrysalis and the lucky guide to all these students who will be presenting their senior project presentations to you today. If you want, you can tag us on social media at CC Demo Day. And you can find us at Code Chrysalis on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. First of all, I want to start off by giving a big thank you to the supporters in our community, without which all of this wonderful work would not be possible. So thank you first to MySousChef and Lori, Kate, and Madako Mektier for providing as real world as of experience as possible for the students working with their live API. Students got a chance to use the MySousChef API to build and implement in their full stack applications. And if you want to see what they made, check out our hackathon videos on our channel. I also want to thank Blake O'Hare, who provided not only help with mock interviews, but his algorithm and whiteboarding expertise to students to help prepare them for the job hunt ahead. So thank you so much, Blake, and thank you, MySousChef. So tonight, why are we here? Well, we're doing introductions right now, and I will stop talking shortly to pass it over to students to present their projects to you, and then we'll have some closing words. But before we get started, I do want to provide a little more context into what you're going to be seeing tonight. So the students you'll be seeing today have been through 12 weeks of an incredibly challenging software engineering program. They've learned everything from the basics of data structures and time complexity to more complex topics like how to configure an ORM, defining the requirements for a new project, and building a robust and scalable infrastructure. So they've been through a lot. They've been at it for 12 weeks, and they are here to show you the culmination of all their hard work and efforts today and everything they've learned from engineering skills to teamwork, collaboration, and problem solving. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to pass it over to the first team on today. So Team Paternals, please come to the stage, and they will be presenting their app Pet Pals to you. The time to build a pet work is always before you need one. I love that tagline. Sounds like sound advice. Let's see. Team Paternals, are you ready to go?
Thank you, Shivani. Yep, I believe we're ready to go.
Okay, take it away.
Hi, everyone. We are Team Paternals, and we are very excited to present to you our senior project, Pet Pals. I'd like to break down this presentation into 7 sections. First, I'd like to introduce the team and our app. Then, Karen will take us through idea creation and our user personas. We will then play a short demo before Akor takes us through product development. And finally, you will take us through our tech stack, challenges, and future features. First, a bit about us. We are a team of 4 full stack developers. Our team in no particular order is Karen Umehara, Yu Takaki, Eiko Imai, and myself, Callum Koike-Marshall. Now, a bit about Pet Pals. Do you happen to live in an apartment that forbids owning pets? Are you a pet owner that can't take your dog for morning walks because of work? If so, this app may be for you. Pet Pals connects potential pet carers to pet owners, allowing carers to experience owning a pet short-term and assisting owners in lending their pet to someone trustworthy. Now, Karen will take you through our idea creation process.
Thank you, Carl. We started this project by discussing potential app ideas. From these discussions, we gained a short list of 9 potential ideas, with every team member contributing at least 1 idea. We then voted on elimination to systematically reduce our list to our final idea, Pet Pals. From there, we could identify the problems we wanted to resolve, allow people who aren't able to own pets to have a pet ownership experience, allow pet owners who aren't able to look after their pet 24/7 to lend their pet to someone trustworthy, provide a way to connect these 2 types of users. We used these problems to create our user personas, which drove our product development. For our killer persona, we have Shinaya, who is a 25-year-old female programmer. She has always liked the idea of owning a dog, but she's worried that it might be too expensive. That she won't know how to take care of it long term. By using our app, she will be able to care for a dog on a temporary basis, so she can gain some experience and truly know if she's capable of owning a dog. For our owner persona, we have Yoshua and Michael, who are an elderly couple in their 70s. They recently adopted a puppy whose name is Momo. They are able to take her walks, but due to their age, they feel as if they don't have the energy to play with Momo as much as she needs. They'd like to use the app to find someone trustworthy who can play and run with Momo. Now, Karen will take us through a quick demo.
Thank you, Karen. As mentioned previously, we have two types of users, carers and owners. I'll now show you a quick clip to show you their typical user processes. So let's register as Yoshio and Mariko. First, we will install. And now we have an installed version of the app. Let's sign up. We enter our password and email. We choose owner. We add a profile picture. We enter the name and a bio. And now we add some information for Momo. We choose the tags associated with Momo. And we add a bio. Now we enter some questions that the carer will be required to answer when requesting Momo. And we submit. And now our registration is complete. You can see Momo, a bio, a schedule, and the information for Yoshio and Mariko. That's it for this profile, so let's sign out. So now let's register Shania as a carer. On the left, we have Yoshio and Mariko's profile open on an installed version of the app. Now let's sign up. We add our email and password. Next, we select carer. We can select a profile picture, enter our full name, add a bio, and now we choose the tags that we're interested in. Dog, cat, and vaccinated and house trained. Now we submit. By default, the pets associated with our interests are displayed. These pets have at least one of the tags we listed as our interests. Let's see all of the pets. Now you can see all of the pets are displayed. We have a hedgehog, pig, snake, otter, rabbit, ferret, bird, and many more. But let's search for the pet we're interested in, Momo. So first, we're going to select the type, which will be dog. Next, we choose the size, which will be small. And finally, we choose vaccinated. Now let's search. As you can see, Momo is on the right. We request. And you can see we have Momo's page with a gallery full of cute pictures of Momo. Okay, let's see if we can book Momo for a couple of days. Let's choose the 11th and 12th. And we'll book the date. And now we enter the questions, the answers to the questions that Yoshio and Mariko have requested. Once we have provided all the answers we need, we can submit. Okay, now our request is made. If we revert over to Yoshio and Mariko's profile and click Notifications, we can see the currently pending requests. Our request we just made with Shania is at the bottom. And before we accept that, let's review Pia's. For whatever reason, we are dissatisfied with her answers, so let's reject it. And you can see the request now disappears. Okay, let's go to Shania. We review the answers, we're happy, so we accept the request. And now, if we head back over to Shania's profile, you can see a notification has appeared, and our request has been approved. Now, the chat function is available. You can see Yoshio and Mariko's profile on the left in the contact section. We click, and we can write a message to them. Once we have written our message, if we go back to Yoshio and Mariko's profile, you can see amongst the other messages, Shania has appeared at the top. So we click on Shania, and we can respond to the message. Okay, and if you look over to the right, you can see the message has appeared in real time. And we can continue this. Let's send another message. And again, we see the message appear in real time. And that's it for the demo. Over to Eiko to discuss our product development.
Thanks, Carl. I'm going to describe our product development process by using a timeline. So, firstly, we spent a few days on the project inception and planning the MVP. Secondly, we worked on delivering the MVP by the agreed deadline. Thirdly, after the MVP was delivered successfully, we worked on some bonus features that stakeholders requested. Finally, we polished the app. First was project inception. During this phase, we discussed our goals, non-goals, and the risks to delivery. Then we created user personas, which were used to generate stories to work against. From the stories, we were able to identify our MVP features, which we composed tasks for and distributed them across the team. Next was the MVP, which was designed through interaction with the stakeholders. The key points were the app must be a progressive web app. The app must have authentication. We handled this with JWT. A carer must be able to see all available pets. We used a grid system for this. A carer to owner request system, as seen in the demo. A pet profile. The owner must be able to provide info on their pet. And finally, a chat function to allow owners and carers to communicate freely, handled by using Socket.io. After the MVP version of the app was presented to the stakeholders, they had some ideas on which directions they would like us to take PetPal. These features were tags, a method of adding searchable attributes for pets. Filtering, allow a carer to specify the type of pet they are seeking. Recommendations, find a way to allow a user to set their preferences or receive recommendations. After the bonus features were incorporated, the final phase before project delivery involved ensuring the app had a good accessibility, resolving all outstanding bugs, and ensuring styling was correct and consistent. Next, technologies. I will pass to you.
Thank you, Eiko. Now let's go to the technology section to find out what stock we use to build this project. For project management, we use Asana for tracking the overall status of the project, like MVP requirements and our presentation. We use GitHub issues for tracking code-specific changes and requirements. We use Discord and Slack for team communication. In the front end, we use React for dynamic rendering of components. We use Redux to centralize our states. We use SAS to organize our CSS, and we deployed our front end to Netlify. For the backend, we use MongoDB as our database system. We use Express and Node to communicate with the front end, and finally, we deploy our backend to Heroku. Also in the backend, we have our challenge technologies, JWT authentication and Socket.io. This leads us into the next section. As part of our project brief, we were required to attend 2 challenges. The challenges we chose were JWT authentication and Socket.io. First, JWT authentication. The registration process was difficult at first because we have multiple registration forms. It was complicated to separate the authentication and validation functions. But we discussed it a lot as a team, and by helping each other, we succeeded in making the functionality work. Second, Socket.io. We had some difficulty when a user receives multiple emit actions. That is because one of the components that has the emit action re-renders depending on how the user uses the app. Before we finish, we'd like to discuss the future features we think would improve our app. First, we want to incorporate location mapping to make it easier for users to connect with each other. Second, we wanted language settings to make pet pals more localized. Finally, we wanted video uploads so that owners can bring their pets to life and for carers to show they had fun with the pets. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Code Chrysalis for hosting. If anyone would like to reach out, we can be contacted via email. Thank you.
Yay! Great job, Team Paternals. That was awesome. You may now exit the stage. I am so looking forward to using their app Pet Pals to see who would be willing to give me the honor to hang out with their adorable pets. Next up, Team Tempo, please take the stage. Team Tempo will be presenting their app MySousChef, your personal cooking assistant. I could certainly use one of those. So Team Tempo, are you ready to go?
Thank you, Shivani. Yes, we are ready.
All right, take it away.
Yeah, hello everyone. We are Team Tempo, and today we are introducing you to our senior project, MySousChef. Meet our team, Kim Escovilla, who is the tech lead and a full stack developer, James Balcom, a full stack developer, and Walter Klause, also a full stack developer. And our team's goal is to create an application that would make our users' life more convenient. So who is it for? We believe that MySousChef is for everyone and will change the way people interact with recipes in the kitchen. No more pausing a YouTube video, switching between apps for timers and instructions, or getting your phone messy with floury or greasy hands. MySousChef lets you seamlessly cook new recipes with voice guidance and controls. But let's look at a specific persona of a MySousChef user. This is Susan. She is 40 years old and a full-time housewife, with a needy husband and 3 even more needy kids. And because of that, sometimes she cannot handle all the chores efficiently. Quite often, while cooking, she is dividing her attention between cooking and her kids, and because of that, she tends to overcook her food. She wants something that will help her to cook as efficiently as possible to reduce her stress. So we are introducing MySousChef, your personal cooking assistant. It is a mobile-based smart assistant which will make your cooking experience fun and worry-free. With text-to-speech technology, it will read out the instructions for the step. will guide you through each step of the cooking process, and with timers, it will remind you when that potato in the oven is ready. And if you can't press the button for the next step, you can just say it out loud, and my sous chef will take care of it. Now, James will show us the demo of our application. So let's get cooking.
Thank you, Valters. Let's jump straight into the demonstration.
Okay, let's have a look at the MySousChef app. For the purpose of the demo, let's imagine that I am our persona, Susan. I've just gotten home and I'm ready to start cooking in the kitchen. I've picked a recipe. Let's open the app. So when we open the app the first time, we see the landing page where there are some brief instructions on how to use the app, place to paste in our recipe and switch between the units, and recipes we've previously cooked in the history. Let's paste in our recipe for vegetarian fish finger sandwiches and press go. Now MySousChef is going to analyze the recipe for us, and we can see that it's broken the recipe down into 15 steps, some of which have timers and some of which don't, and we can have a look at the ingredients. Okay, this looks good, except I realize I've made a mistake. I actually wanted these ingredient measurements in imperial and not metric. So let's go back to the home page. Let's click the switch to work in imperial, and let's pick the recipe from our history. So MySousChef is going to analyze the recipe again, and let's check our ingredients. Okay, great. This time we can see that the leftover mash is in ounces, which is an imperial measurement type. Now let's have a look at some of the timers. So step number 1 doesn't have a timer. We're going to leave that alone. And step number 2 doesn't have a timer either, but I'm actually going to give myself just 1 minute to complete this task. Save the timer. And I know that step 3, it says 10 minutes, but actually I don't want to cook it that long. It's going to be a bit soft. So I'm going to change this to just 8 minutes. Okay, now we're ready to go. Let's press the start button. Okay, as this is maybe our first time using the app, or we're not sure about the voice commands, this menu pops up that tells us how to use the voice assistant Blueberry. Gives us the details of each command, and we can choose not to show these instructions again, and then we can either close this or we can start the recipe. Let's close it, and I'll press the start button, and we'll see that this time those instructions won't pop up on the page. Great, okay, here we are. We're in the first step of the recipe. We can see that there is no timer. And we can see a few buttons that we can use to work with the app. Read instructions, reset, increase, decrease the timer, and we can also swipe to go to the next step. But let's use our assistant, Blueberry. Next step.
Step 2.
Great. So she's taken us to the next step. Let's have the assistant start the timer. Blueberry. Begin timer.
Timer started.
Perfect. Let's have it read the instructions for us now. Blueberry. Read instructions.
Step 2. Place the mash in a large bowl, then slice the spring onions.
Great. Let's try out a few more commands. Blueberry. Increase timer. Great. Blueberry. Decrease timer. So we can do these things with our voice command. We can also swipe with our finger to the left and the right. Now let's see what happens when the timer expires and how we can respond with Blueberry. Okay, so we hear the warning alarm, and then we have the option to close this modal or to go to the next step. Let's just advance to the next step. Blueberry. Next step.
Step 3.
Perfect. Okay, so let's imagine now we've worked through all of these steps. We've gotten to the very last one, step 15, and we're ready. We're ready to go and eat, but we want to let MySousChef know that we're done with the recipe. So we can simply press the done button, and we get to celebrate with Blueberry and some. and we can press return to home and we're back to the home page, ready to cook again another day. And that's it for the demo.
Okay, let's return to the slides. So to summarize the main features of MySousChef. Firstly, you can select a recipe from almost any recipe website, and you can switch between metric and imperial units. Those recipes are stored for later use, and you can delete them from the history as well. The app will look at the recipe and scrape out the relevant data, the ingredients and the steps and the timers. And then it displays you a nice clean preview of those details. You can adjust and control the timers, adding new ones or changing the times that exist. And then when you press start, you can begin to operate the application fully hands-free. Blueberry will also communicate with the user to let the user know when things are finished, such as starting the timer. And the app will notify the user when a step is completed with the timer alarm sound, and they can move on to the next step. So how do we achieve this? In the back end of the application, we use Node and Express to serve up the recipe data that had been scraped using Puppeteer, and we used CircleCI for our continuous integration. In the front end, the app was developed using React Native with Recoil for state management, and we used Porcupine Wakeword Engine and React Native Voice for our voice controls. Now let's pass to Kim, who's going to talk you through our development process.
Thank you, James. So let's talk about the development of our app. On our first week, we brainstormed on what project we would create. We also spent the entire day learning React Native. And the next day, we did some web scraping, and we also added the different components for our application. On Wednesday, we were able to implement the text-to-speech feature and also started with the initial design. And on Thursday, we were able to deploy our app to Google Play Store and also started our research for TensorFlow. On the last day of first week, we fixed some bugs, and we also started panicking because we couldn't make TensorFlow work. For our second week, we integrated the wake-up word, which is Blueberry. And as suggestions from our stakeholders, we also added a list of ingredients and an option to change the metric unit. Next, we were able to add the different voice commands, and we also improved the design of our application. And last but not the least, we were able to refactor our codes. For the challenges of this project, first is TensorFlow. So after 4 days of researching and 1 million articles, we were unsuccessful getting TensorFlow's speech recognition model to work on React Native. We couldn't find any resources or guides that uses speech recognition model. It should be possible, but there isn't an existing library that we could have used. Because we didn't have enough time to research deeply, we had to let TensorFlow go and use React Native speech command model instead. And that caused our second challenge, which is ejecting our project from Expo to React Native. So we decided on using React Native speech command, but then we had to eject our entire project from Expo CLI to React Native CLI. In Expo CLI, it's a beginner-friendly way to get started, and for React Native, you need to do some things manually. And in order to solve this, we followed the documentation and watched some tutorials. Our last challenge is not enough documentation. So there's not enough documentation for React Native and using speech recognition in a React Native project. We were able to overcome this by experimentation, tinkering, reading Stack Overflows, and searching for similar situations. But aside from those challenges, we also learned a lot of things and gained a lot of skills. One of it is React Native. So we dedicated day 1 for learning React Native. We watched a lot of tutorials and we also practiced writing React Native code. And another one is dealing with React Native Android. So as part of the effort to integrate TensorFlow into our app, James learned how to write bridging code between Android and React Native. Although the complexity of TensorFlow meant we couldn't get this working in time. Last but not the least, we were all able to learn how to add text-to-speech and speech-to-text features into any project. For the future features of our app, we would like to add user accounts so that our users would be able to share the recipes into any device and they would be able to save their timer details. We also want a Gordon Ramsay mode. So we'd want to change Blueberry's voice and attitude to Gordon Ramsay. Or maybe someone slightly friendlier. Last but not the least, we want to add more customizations, so such as changing the alarm sound. And that's it for our project. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us and do try out our app by scanning this QR code. Thank you so much for listening.
Yay! Thank you so much, Team Tempo. You may exit the stage. That was a lovely presentation. And as someone who is very lazy about cooking, I love how my sous chef lowers the mental burden and gets me excited to get in the kitchen stress-free and hands-free. Next up, we have Team Eatable presenting their app of the same name, Eatable. So Team Eatable, welcome to the stage. And their app is an app for selling food that is close to its expiration date for the discounted price. Sounds very convenient and handy. So Team Eatable, are you ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Okay, take it away.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. We are Eatable, and today we are here to share our app called Eatable. So here's a brief overview of our presentation. So I hope you can sit back and enjoy while we tell you a little bit about our app. So let me introduce our team. We are Eatable. We have Sumit Verma as our tech lead and full stack developer. Also Shota Karato and myself, Marcus Atencio, as full stack developers on this project. So what is Eatable? Eatable is an app for selling food that is close to its expiration date for a discounted price. But more than that, Eatable is a solution to a major problem we face, which is food waste. So here's the background of this app. According to research, in Japan, there's about 6 million tons of food waste every year. This is quite a shocking number, and after we learned this, we immediately started brainstorming about how we could have an impact on this situation. And that's where the idea of Eatable came from. So have you ever seen these stickers? These are the reduced price stickers for the food that is close to its expiration date. We thought we could reach out to more customers if we list these discounted items on our app. We are aiming to cover food not only from the supermarket, but also from small businesses such as local restaurants. When thinking about the functionality and user interface to develop this app, we created a few personas to help us visualize our users. So first, we have Takuya. He's 40 years old and he lives in Tokyo. He owns a supermarket in Setagaya. He's been feeling bad about having to dispose of so much food at the end of the day. And although they put discount labels on items at the shop, there's still a big amount of waste by the time the shop closes. So now he's looking for a way to reach out to customers to notify them that there is discounted food at the shop so that he can reduce the amount of waste. And next we have Misaki. She's 25 years old and she lives in Tokyo. She lives in a very crowded area that has a lot of restaurants. Misaki often gets home in the evening and notices that the restaurants are often throwing out bags of food. She wants to find a way to prevent this food waste, but isn't quite sure how to approach restaurant owners about purchasing close to expiry food. She wants an app that can display foods that are for sale in her area and would like the option to pick these items up on the way home from work. And now, Shota will give us a demonstration of our application.
Thank you, Marcus. Now let's jump into the demo. So here we have our application Eatable. And when our user first visits our website, they're going to see this landing page. And here we have login form. But if you don't have an account yet, you can simply click this sign up button and that will take you to the sign up form. But we've already created an account for this demo. So let's go back to the login form. Okay, so you may have noticed already, on the left-hand side of this page, we have some information for our user. It's showing how much food we saved through Eatable. And as we can see, we've already saved 26 servings of food, which is amazing. Okay, so now let's log in as one of our persona, Takuya. If you remember, Takuya owns a supermarket, so he's going to log into Eatable as a seller. Okay, so now let's log in as a Takuya. He already filled in all the information, so let's log in. Right, so when Takuya logs into Eatable, he's going to see all the items he listed on Eatable. And we can see he's got quite a few items listed at the moment. And he can even edit information or update information of each item by clicking this edit item button at the bottom. Let's click it, and that is going to open up this pop-up. And here he can edit information or even delete item by clicking this delete button. So let's go to profile page now. In the profile page, Takuya can check out all the basic information about his shop. We can see he owns a supermarket called Fuji Super. We can see his address, business hours, phone number, and Takuya can edit these information in this edit profile page. And in this sold item section, Takuya can check out what kind of item he sold in the past. So we can tell he sold quite a few items on Eatable already. And we even provided this mini stats at the top of this page. We can see he already saved 26 servings of food. The amount of money he saved on Eatable is more than 4,000 yen, which is great. Okay, so let's say now it's evening and Takuya wants to add another item on Eatable, and that item is discounted at his shop at the moment. So let's go back to Eatable page by clicking this Eatable logo the top right corner. Okay, so now Takuya can click this add a new item button. And here he can fill in all the information about that item. And let's say he wants to sell this bento. So let's select food type and fill in price and pick expiration date. And he can even choose image for that item. So now everything looks fine now, okay? So let's click the submit button. Okay, so Takuya has successfully submitted the information. So we should see that bento appear on this currently listed item page shortly. Right, now we see that bento appeared on this page. So we successfully added item. So now let's log out. And this time, let's log in as one of our buyer, Misaki. Misaki had another busy day at work, and she now wants to pick up some food somewhere close to her place. So now let's log in as Misaki. So to do so, let's fill in some information. Okay, so when Misaki logs into Eatable, she's going to see all the items up for sale on Eatable. And yeah, we've got quite a few items listed at the moment. And she can even see more detailed information of each item by clicking this information icon. And she can even filter this item by using this food type filter. So let's say she wants to buy meat, and that is going to display meat. And she wants to buy vegetable, like this. Okay, and she can even reorder these items by expiration date. So let's say she wants to order them by closest expiration date. And that is going to reorder item by date. And she's very tired from work, and she wants to pick up some food, possibly somewhere close to her place. So now she can use this location filter. So let's click it, and that is going to give us some options. So we have a couple options here. So let's click this within 2K. And that is going to display all the items within 2K. Great. Now Misaki thinks this bento looks nice. Okay, so Misaki can click this add to cart button here. And once she clicks that button, the marker on the cart page will be updated. So let's go to cart page. And here Misaki can see bento is now in the cart. So she can click this purchase and takeaway button to finalize the purchase. And that is going to open up this Stripe checkout page. And here she can fill in all the credit card information. And once she's done that, she can click this pay button at the bottom, and that will take her to the profile page. Okay, let's click it. Okay, now we see thank you for the purchase message. The payment was successful. And now we are back in the profile page. And here in this profile page, Misaki can see the profile. And if you see this your purchase section, that bento she just purchased is now added at the top of this history. And she can even click this bento accordion. And that is going to give her more detailed information. And she can visit this address to pick up the bento. Great. And we also provide a mini stats for our buyer as well. Okay, so now Misaki successfully purchased a bento. So let's log out and see what happens on Takeya's side. If you remember, Takeya is the one who listed that bento. So now let's log in as Takeya and see what is happening on his side. Okay. And as we can see, that bento Takeya listed is now gone from this currently listed page. Where did it go? Let's scroll down a little bit more. And now we see this waiting for pickup section and we find bento in there. So let's click it. And that is going to display this complete transaction button. So let's say Misaki came to the shop and picked up the bento. And then Takeya can click this complete transaction button. So let's click it. Okay, so now bento is gone from this waiting for pickup section. Let's go to the profile page. In the profile page, we have sold item section, and here we have that bento added. So this is how seller and buyer makes transaction on this Eatable app. Okay, that's it for the demo. Let's go back to the presentation. So now let me talk a little bit about our user story. From our personas, we narrowed down some user experiences we needed to provide for this app. On seller side, we see a seller needs to set a store location so that the buyer can have access to their food, but also business hour to know when they can get their food. We also want a seller to easily see all the items listed for sale and add, edit, and even delete them. So essentially make the app as easily manageable as possible for the buyer, for the seller. And for the buyer, we want to be able to show all the items up for sale and filter those results by different criteria, including food type, location, and expiration date. We are also focusing heavily on the act of buying. So we want to make it as easy as possible for the buyer to put an item in the cart and purchase them. And we also provide a way to make payment online so that the buyer can simply visit the shop and pick up the item without even paying at the shop. So now Sumit is going to walk us through our tech stack. I'll pass it to Sumit.
Thank you, Shota. So as you have already seen our application, let's talk about the technologies that we used in this project. So for the front end, we use React and React Router. We use Node.js with Express for our backend server. We use JWT for authentication. We use Stripe to enable online payments. We use Docker to Dockerize our application. And we deployed our Dockerized application on Google Cloud Platform. We use Google Cloud SQL for database, and we use KNEXJS to connect with it. Now let's talk about some of the challenges that we have in this project. So the very first challenge was to decide the right service for our project. So at GCP, there are so many services available, and we were very confused to select which service will be suitable for our application. So we gone through a lots of documentation, and then we decided to use Cloud Run for deployment and Cloud SQL for the database. Another major problem was to connect with Cloud SQL database. Cloud SQL database has different connection methods like TCP connection, UTP socket connection. So what was happening is that from the production, which is Cloud Run, UTP connection was working, but we were not able to establish a UTP connection from our local server. However, we were able to establish the TCP connection from our local server. So well, what we did is that we used environment variables. So if the request is from local server, use TCP connection, otherwise use UTP connection. This solved the issue. Now let's talk some of the learnings. So we learned JWT. JWT is really helpful for secure API calls, and you don't have to store the token to the database. We can make use of local storage at the browser. We also learned Stripe. Stripe is great for online payments, and it has very good documentation. So if you want to use a Stripe in your project, we will highly recommend you to follow the official documentation. It covers almost everything. Last but not least, we learned Docker. Docker is really helpful and it provides to package and run your application in an isolated environment. And if you are planning to deploy your app on Google Cloud Platform, Docker is very compatible with that. So let's talk about some of the future features before we end. So we want to add some detailed stats in our application. We want to add feature for online delivery. We want to add some notifications for buyers and sellers. And we also want to add search and recommendation with the help of AI. This was everything for this project. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us or our LinkedIn handles, and you can get our application from this QR code. If you want to look at our code base, or if you are interested to contribute, please visit us on GitHub at eatable.jp/eatable. Thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you so much, Team Eatable. You may exit the stage. That was fantastic. And that is the second app in a row that's got me thinking about dinner and cooking. And thanks to Eatable, now I know where to grab some ingredients on the cheap and reduce food wastage in the process. How awesome is that? And with that, I am sad to say that that is all we have to show you for tonight in terms of student presentations. I'm going to be sharing just a little more info with everyone now who's watching in case you're curious to know about our courses and everything. So first of all, I want to say thank you to the students, CC23. You've all put in an incredible amount of effort, and I think it's absolutely paid off. The presentations today were phenomenal. And your journey is not over yet. You're going to be graduating tomorrow and then starting your job hunt, but you won't be alone. You will have the support from Code Chrysalis staff and our awesome career support team every step of the way. For people watching the event, I hope this showed you the kinds of technologies that students end up coming out with at the end of the program. And I also hope you can tell that we value not only technical skills and engineering, but also skills in autonomy, empathy, and communication that are just as important to becoming a full stack developer. One thing we really care about is making students confident enough to be able to pick up technologies by themselves, even if they're really unfamiliar. So for example, in the presentations you saw tonight, things like Docker, Socket.io, CircleCI, GCP, and more are all things that the students learned completely by themselves, which I think is a very impressive feat and goes to show how autonomous and awesome they've become as engineers. So if you're curious about our courses, let me share a little info with you all on what we have upcoming in terms of events and course deadlines. So first of all, we have another demo day coming up very soon for the immersive part-time students. So that will be on December 17th. We'd love to see you there. If you're interested in going through the same course that the students you saw today went through, you can join our next full-time immersive course. It begins in March and the final deadline is in February. You can find more information on our website for this course and all other courses as well. Speaking of other courses, we also have an immersive part-time course. If you can't commit to it full-time because you have other commitments like work, this is the course for you. It starts the next one in April, and the deadline is in March if you want to apply. Finally, if you're bored of self-studying or finding it hard, you're curious about coding, or just don't quite feel ready yet for the immersive programs themselves, you can try out our Foundations 5-week course. It would be perfect for you. The next one starts in January, and the final deadline is coming up December 23rd, so get applying if you want to join us. And with that, I will conclude this event. Thank you so much for everyone listening. Thank you to the engineers that we saw presenting today. Each and every one of you is a gift to the tech industry, and I can't wait to see what you do out there. Thank you, everyone. Take care and see you at the next event.